Casual Magic has been sponsored by Quiver, maker of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine deck holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their website for 10% off your order. We're also sponsored by Architect, the premier site for hosting your decks on the internet. I love them and they love me, and it seems like a good reason for you to use them. You can also support Casual Magic directly by going to our Patreon at patreon.com/ShivamB. And now, on with the show. Hello, and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam, Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Architect and Quiver Time and my patrons at patreon.com/ShivamB. Today, I am very excited to have a very enthusiastic guest with me today. A man who's been trying to get me to play his goddamn Commander Cube for years now. Gilbert of the Commander Tavern and the maintainer of a gigantic Commander Cube, which recently also is very variant thereof showed up on Magic Online, which was running Commander Cube as well. So and I've met a couple of people who've had Commander Cubes over the years at like different Magic Cons or whatever, and people always try to get me to play them, but real talk, it is very hard to find the time for me specifically to sit down and play Cube, like at a Magic Con, especially a Commander Cube. But I really want to someday because these things seem so sick. Hey, buddy, man, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you, Shivam. It's been great to finally get to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, real talk, you've been asking me for a very long time, and it's just not fit my schedule. But here we are, and I'm super stoked about it because Commander Cube is so it feels like two diametrically opposite things like coming together, like peanut butter and tuna sandwich, right? Like what what is going on? Can you tell the people what a Commander Cube is?
Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar with what a cube is, so cube is basically whoever sort of curates the cube is curating their draft environment. So for example, let's buy a box of Final Fantasy booster packs and let's crack them open and draft. But in a cube, someone decides what cards go in it. You create the packs and then you draft it around. So that's regular cube. But you're basically building any limited, I don't know, 40 card, just like you would any like pre-release or whatever. But with a Commander Cube, the goal is to play sort of some variant of Commander. So you will have a Commander, you will have your deck, color identity and all that stuff, or maybe Brawl if you want a smaller or tiny leaders. So Commander Cube adds that extra sort of difficulty of logistics. Okay, how do I make sure everyone gets a commander at the end of it? That's why, for example, in Commander Legends, you had the prismatic one, and in Baldur's Gate, you had the background that was colorless that you could use it as either or, just in case, to fill in the gaps. And then in the one you just mentioned with online, it also has the sort of errata where every monocolored legendary creature has partners to sort of make it easier.
So the Gavin mystery event version.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Same exact concept. So you're sort of melding those two things together.
So I actually really like the way that. So for those of you guys who haven't gotten a chance to play the Gavin Unknown events, they're literally the best reason to go to a Magic Con. You and I sat next to each other during one of them, I think. And the trick there is that Gavin is secretly forcing everybody to play Brawl. He has made 60 card. He's like, yeah, I need you guys to have 60 cards with one commander, so 59 in one. But after like 2 or 3 events, he's like, it's really hard to get people to have multicolored legends that they can build a thing. So he's like, all right, fine. You guys can take any single monocolored commander and partner them up to make a 60 card Brawl deck or 58 and 2. And really, like, some people are like, oh, why don't you do that in Commander? I'm like, because it would be broken in half. That's why.
100%.
It would be unbelievably stupid in a full 100 card non-limited format. But when you're playing a limited format where the cards are already curated down into this set of packs, it's way more balanced and allows you to actually play. That's how, like, I got to play Shivam and Wheeler as my commanders in whatever Magic Con that was. I've been to so many of them. But yeah, so the thing is, like, your average cube, like normal size cube, is like 360 cards, 580
Yeah,
cards, something like that. Um, enough to make, packs for 8 people to draft 15 cards each
yeah,
to be able to make your own draft. I'm looking at the list of your cube, and it is 1,080 cards.
yeah.
What?
So when I first envisioned this, my goal was because there's always an arm race with this with like a play group.
Actually, let's
Yeah,
back up 10 seconds. How did you come across the notion of a commander cube in the first place? Did you see somebody else's? Did you think, oh gosh, I like cube and I'm going to make this?
that's how it went about it. So Cube, the good thing about Cube is no one has to like bring their decks or all the mess that comes with it, like play mess dice, whatever. So the play group I had in Puerto Rico, there was like a sort of like an arms race between us, and like sort of people started getting slightly more powerful cards, and I figured, well, I like Cube. I have a cube. Let me just now make it for Commander, where now everyone can play with the same pool of cards, and there's no arm race because everyone's playing
Mm,
with the same
mm,
amount of cards. And I researched online, and I really hadn't seen anything for it. I think the only thing was maybe Sanderson's Commander cube that he played on game nights, but apart from that, there was nothing. And this was even before I started my channel, so that's why there's a whole bunch of like videos also on my channel just about different aspects of Commander Cube. And that sort of proto version was so successful that I just kept dedicating to it, and it was always 1,080 cards because if I want people to play 100 card decks right off the
mm.
bat, that's 800 cards minimum that
Yeah.
you're drafting. And I mean, without basic lands, right? But there's 800 cards that you're drafting. So mathematically speaking, you might not be able to have a viable 100 card deck. So just for the variance and the possibility,
Well,
I
okay,
crunched
wait a
numbers and it
second,
was
wait a second,
1080.
wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. When we're talking commander deck, there's 100 cards in a commander deck, but real talk, there's 60 cards in a commander deck, and 40
Yeah,
of those are based
exactly.
for some variant of land, right? So it's
Yep.
like it's not quite drafting 800 cards, but I understand where you're coming
Yeah.
though.
Because for example, if you do have 8 people and each of
Yeah.
them are getting 5 20 card packs, in that sort of pool, you're drafting
Mm,
100 times 8 non basic lands basically.
sure.
And you're going to have a sideboard left over. Let's say, for example, you decided on your red white commander, anything you drafted as green, blue, or black, you can't put it in the deck. So you sort of have to, okay, so these are the spots I'm going to use for my basics. Or maybe you were lucky enough and you were able to pick within your colors, and then you sort of still have a sideboard. But there has to be a possibility where, with people, picking within the same colors or the same archetypes, that you have enough there where anything is viable, especially with such a massive deck, because it is bona fide commanders, not brawl or tiny leaders. I want everyone with 100 card color identity. You have your commanders, commander deck.
Okay, so before we talk about that, I want to what does it so God, this is so much, man. This is like crazy to think about. Um so let's say you guys go through so what do you physically have? Like when you sit down to draft with 8 people, what do you give people? You give them, you said 20 card
Yeah.
packs?
All right. So disclaimer. First of all, I'm not like sponsored by absolutely anybody, but I'm just going to show you how massive this thing looks because I have to hulk around. You saw me in
Yeah.
MagicCon with
You have like
that
a crate.
suitcase.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So this is where it's literally where I transport it. It's called a potamajig. And if you open it, inside of here are the little cartamajigs, and these are sort of the quote unquote booster packs. So
Yeah.
everyone takes some of these, and if you notice, I'm showing it on the screen, but I'll describe it. It's like literally like a small box that you can seal and reseal, and it fits up to
Yeah.
20
It looks like an old
single
school
sleeve
cassette
cards.
tape
Yeah, exactly.
holder.
Yeah.
And he's got a
For,
big
for
3-row box with like a
50,
lot of them.
there's 54 packs in here. So
Jesus.
interestingly, 54 times 20 is 1,080. So my queue
Mm.
was 1,080 cards before this product ever came out because I kickstarted this. I backed it on Kickstarter. So it was like perfect. It was serendipitous that this whole thing fits in here. But the reason I carry around a suitcase is because this is how I set it up for drafting. Like every pack is shuffled, and I could talk about how I seed my packs later
Yeah, we'll get
if
to
you
that,
want.
but
And then here is where I store it. This massive thing. This whole thing is full of.
it's a big plastic
Yeah. So I
box.
have I think this is, I don't remember the brand, but I could tell you later.
It
But
doesn't
it's
matter.
the whole 1,080 cards fit in here, and it's separated by sections. Shivam right now is seeing how there's like a mono white section, a multicolor
Uh-huh.
section, a commanders only section, colorless, etc. So This thing is massive. This is why I hulk around like literally a
So wait,
carry-on
then what's in the
suitcase at
other box? In
conventions.
the Potamajig packs?
So the Potomagic packs are empty because
Oh, so then you shuffle. Okay,
exactly I
so you
prepared
have
the
some
packs in
means
them. Yeah.
of like setting up. Okay, fine. Since we're there, tell me how you set up a booster pack.
Okay, so I have my pack seated, and just so I can show you what I mean, I did hand these out to everyone who plays it. I think I gave you one as well in MagicCon. So I'm showing a helper card. So basically, every pack is seeded with two possible commanders, three mana fixing lands, and then everything else are monocolored cards. So I
Mm,
literally have a way where I shuffle every pile. So every mono white pile gets shuffled, every multicolored pile, colorless, etc. They all get shuffled, and then I have a system where I pick X amount of cards from each pile so that it's balanced. Since color identity is so important, if I left it just to 100% randomness, you're not going to have balance between
mm.
packs. And then, oh, maybe this player who's playing white green, they don't see as many white or green cards as a blue or
So is
black
it
player if
sort
I
of
don't have a
like
certain.
a mystery booster where it's got like
Yeah.
two cards of each color in a booster pack type of thing?
Yeah, exactly. And
Mm.
then further complicate the combinatorics of this, there's a lot of non-legal cards in the cube, which is another reason why I made it. So I also try to make it so that at least 2 to 3 cards per pack are not legal in Commander.
Yeah, because I see here you've also got the mini game that was from Theros Block.
Yes, the
Like
heroes, yeah, they're in there.
because if anybody ever went to the pre-release for Theros Block, there was this mini game you could play in the store where they would give you these cards that were like, for instance, I'm going to read this one here. The
Yeah,
Avenger. It's a hero card, and it says 3 and tap. Target creature you control gains death touch until end of turn. There's one called the Savant, which is like exile the Savant, tap all creatures your opponent control, etc. These are sort of like one-shot effects or repeatable effect. How do you play a hero card though?
so the cube also has conspiracies. So since I have no house rules on these things, so these things work just as they did in those events. So for example, when you're playing conspiracy draft, any conspiracies you draft, they
They
start in
sit
your
on the
command
side, yeah.
zone, but they don't count towards your library limit. So heroes, if you remember, they start on the battlefield and they're
Mm.
permanents. So basically, just like conspiracies start in the command zone, the heroes start on the battlefield and they're permanent. So you can, if it taps, it taps, and then it untaps at your untap step. That's why you'll see a lot of removal in the queue is like permanent, not just strictly creature or whatever,
Mm.
so that you can get rid of those or steal them and stuff like that. But if it's bounced to your hand, it's not a spell. You can't cast it. Like if it goes to your graveyard, unless you return a permanent or whatever. So they behave just like they did
Yeah, man,
in
this
those
is.
events.
I'm just looking through your list here, and it's wild. There's like normal cards, there's mystery booster cards,
Yeah,
there's Gavin's unknown cards, there's silver border cards, there's cards that are technically not cards. I mean,
yeah.
this is like all of Magic has been shot into a hopper and like vomited out into your box.
Yeah. Originally, I had at least one card per set or product represented in the cube, but obviously, as the years go
Yeah.
on and more stuff is released per year, it's not sustainable. But at least my favorite sort of concepts are there because obviously it's like a representation of the cubist personality, if I want to put it that way.
Mm.
But they all have a purpose. Like unless the card I really really like it, and it's for no other reason than because I like the card, it's in the cube. So they sort of help other archetypes and things like that.
Yeah, like you have lessons and you have learn and you have lore seeker. It's
Yeah.
sick. It's enjoyable to just look through this and see like all of the
The wish effects too. They work.
just ridiculous things that are in here. Like I love you've got the conspiracy card that lets you add a pack to the draft
Yeah.
or booster tiger, which lets you when you
Yeah.
attack you crack open a pack. Do
Yep.
you have the one that lets you open a pack and turn all the creatures into a zombie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the pack, since I have so many packs left over after a draft, I have enough because I've had experiences where people are like, okay, I'm gonna clone Stalking Tiger or I'm gonna copy, summon the pack. So you can't just have one. So
Hmm.
to sort of keep it self-contained and not have to carry around actual booster packs, you can like get
Yeah.
them from the packs. Yeah.
That's why I like to use those type of cards and anti rules and stuff in cube
Yeah.
because it's all a self-contained cube. It's all going back to the owner of the cube at the end of the game. So I
Yeah.
don't feel bad about using things like demonic attorney or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Um, or contract from below.
Yeah.
Don't ever play contract from below people. It's the most broken card in the history of Magic. Um, but yeah, like I think this is really sick in terms of just like representation and like the fact that you open a pack and it's just going to be an insanely bizarre combination of things. Um, but like I keep coming back to this notion of like how you played Commander. How did you figure out how to make a draft out of Commander?
Oh man, so where would I even begin with that? So the first things first, since I did it, like I said, for like my play group in Puerto Rico. So a buddy
Also, I
of
want to talk
mine.
about that too because like I haven't talked to any Puerto Rican players on here. I'm curious how Magic works over there.
Okay, so it's interesting because, and shout out to Saul and all my homies back in Puerto Rico. So it's weird because we are U.S. territory, but sometimes we get product in Spanish and in English. So it's sort of weird, like how LGS's work and stuff in PR. But when I was there, we would sort of like these new players would be into the group and they were sort of getting into Commander. They might have learned how to draft, so they're sort of like shifting from other formats into Commander. So
Hmm.
the first thing I did was the first pack was just legendary creatures, so that you would guarantee a commander. Because this is
Hmm.
I started this queue a long time ago. This was before the prismatic piper. So and
Hmm.
then we had 3 packs where it was just like bulk to sort of build your deck with, and then one last pack was just land packs like your Hollow Fountains, your Evolving Wilds, Painland, stuff like that. And it worked, but then there came a point where you had all these legendary creatures that couldn't really fit in your deck, and so it was hard to
Hmm.
build. Like, oh, that's not going to work. So let me try sort of seeding packs. So then it was 4 packs, and then the fifth pack, which was lands, and that sort of made it better. Once the Prismatic Piper came out, I was like, perfect, because then
Hmm.
at the beginning of each draft, I give every player here your 2 copies of Prismatic Piper just in case. Don't worry about commanders. Minimum, you can have 2 colors.
Right.
And that made it astronomically better. It's like, thank you, Gavin. That's exactly what I needed for the cube. And then little by little, it's evolved. That's why if you see the mini series on my channel, you sort of see, okay, this is the easiest way. And then, oh, thanks to Commander Legends, this is now how you can do it. Or thanks to Commander Masters, now this is a good way to do it.
Yeah. Did you institute the way of Commander Masters of taking 2 picks of your first pack?
Yes. So with double masters, first I was doing it that way where your first pick was 2, so that if you were picking a commander, you wouldn't lose your pick to guarantee your commander. So you're sort of picking one and then you're picking another, and then every other pick after that was just one. And
Hmm.
then once Commander Masters came out, oh, it's just 2 each time. I was like, oh, how stupid am I? I could have just done 2 every single time. And that sort of also helps the draft go faster because you don't have the analysis paralysis of, oh, this pack is super full of good cards. I can't choose just one. So now it's 2 each time, and it sort of also helps the draft process faster.
Yeah, because I would imagine that the drafting would be incredibly slow in trying to could build up. Because when you're trying to draft 100 individual cards or whatever, 5 packs of 20 or something like that,
Yeah,
it's going to take a lot. I mean, a normal draft takes forever,
yeah,
and when you have to read every card because they're from all over the place, and
yeah,
you don't know what your commanders are, it can take a very long time. So being able to
yeah.
draft multiple cards at once probably helps a lot.
Especially when the way a commander deck works, where you know that if you don't draft, for example, enough mana acceleration or card advantage, you're going to be behind in the game. Or likewise, if you don't build enough, if you don't like pick enough interaction, someone's going to steamroll everyone else if no one else has interaction. So you sort of have to balance. Okay, I really like this commander. I really like these cards, but I need to pick that murder or that doomblade or whatever
Hmm.
it is I need to get or that cultivate. So it sort of goes there. That's why if you look, there are so many cards that make the draft more fun. Add another pack to the draft, or
Mm.
pick 2 cards and then let's put this card back in the pack, so that the draft itself is also entertaining. And it's just, oh, pick, 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 pick. Oh wait, this card works now during the draft, even if it doesn't work later during the pick. Because there's a card where there's I think it's like a fire tiger, where if you pick it, let's say it's the 10th card you pick, if then you play it in a game, it enters with 10 +1/+1 counters.
Mm.
So if someone doesn't pick it first, but then Pyretic Hunter, I'll read it for you. It says, reveal Pyretic Hunter as you draft it, and note how many cards you've drafted this draft
Oh,
round,
Jesus.
including Pyretic Hunter. It has Menace, and then it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the highest number you picked, and it's just 5 mana. So let's say it's your 16th pick, you just got a 16/16 with Menace for just 5 mana. And since it's +1/+1 counters, there is support for +1/+1 counters in the cube. So maybe it'll enter with double counters, or maybe you can split those counters amongst other creatures and stuff like that. So even then, like, there are overflowing and overlapping archetypes, even with like weird cards that make no sense to play in Commander. because otherwise it's a
Mm.
0/0 for 5 mana with menace. Who's
Yeah.
using that in Commander? Nobody. But it only works in draft.
I mean, maybe if you have a sacrifice deck or something. But
Yeah,
like
that's
I
true.
also noticed you have like those two lands on there, Goldmine and Cryptic Spires, which are like right on the card. Which color are you using?
Yeah, in that case, people at least have not actually written on them. So what
Yeah,
you do is just
use a
like write,
notepad.
yeah, use a notepad. Say, okay, this one's black red, or I use this once or twice. Like a die works for that one for gold mine.
Oh man, you have Urza Academy Headmaster, the one that makes you go to the website.
Yeah.
Did you print all
Well,
that crap out?
I mean, everybody has a phone, Shivam. You could just go, okay, use on the
Fair,
website.
fair. It's just like I guess, yeah, okay, fine, fine. I can see that point.
And technically, you can only use it if you have a 5-color commander, unless you like wish it into the game. So
Oh
that's a
Jesus.
really rare occurrence when you actually see the
Yeah,
headmaster
like
version.
I'm just glancing briefly while you're talking and just like looking and seeing what ridiculous like there's just cards from everywhere in this
Yeah.
thing.
And those are my favorite cards. Also, a lot of these is like I can't make myself cut them. I just like them so much. I
Well, you
have
have 1,000 cards, man.
Yeah. It's not easy though, because for example, every time a multicolored card comes out, I really, really like multicolored cards. Those are the hardest to draft because they're so restrictive in Commander. So for
Mm,
example, right now there's only 3 of any given 3-color combination. So if a really good 3-color card comes out, that's when I'm like, oh wow, I can only have 3. Like, what do I cut if I want to
mm.
put it in? So it's not that easy to make decisions. Maybe for like a mono green card,
Mm.
but not when you have like multicolor. The same with commanders. Like, I only have 3 of each double color, and I really like the ones I have. So sometimes if a really, really good one comes up, I'm like, oh, what do I cut, or
Yeah,
should I cut anything?
but you also have like initiative and dungeon and monarch in here.
Yeah.
Doesn't that just make it very confusing after a minute?
Not really, because like I said, the cube is very, not so much battle cruiser, but it's mid rangey. Like most
Mm,
games are not going to be done in like half an hour, maybe 1 hour tops, 1 hour and a half still, because you still have like powerful creatures and spells and stuff. But
mm.
the initiative and monarch, I found that they always help close out games, because players
They
are
do.
always trying to find at least one that can get through to steal it. So it's sort of, and
Yes.
that's why there's a lot of gold. If you see a lot of forced combat, even really, really old forced combat cards, like I have the imp
Siren's
in
Call.
here. Yeah, exactly. So I have there's an imp in here from Ice Age, where Norit
Norrit.
Norit is here, like untap target blue creature and then force target non-walk creature to attack. So that
Yeah.
also helps accelerate games. And then if someone swings into you, if you have bigger creatures, they're not going to do it, because then it just becomes removal.
Mm.
So there's another ways, like if you can also sort of outside of the box think about the cards in the cube too. Like, is
Yeah,
this a removal card? Yes. Is it acceleration? Sort of, kind of.
I'm definitely noticing, for instance, as I go through the red cards, I'm noticing a lot of cards that are like either they are forced to attack or they force you to attack or they're all about encouraging you to attack and not turtle. I'm noticing like
Yeah.
there's a theme kind of going on here over the cube of like, which I like a lot, which is kind of anti-stall. It feels like,
Yeah. So
um,
there's a lot of archetypes here. One of the ones I knew 100% I wanted was that force combat, whether it's gold or straight up force combat, forcing blocks too. Like if you
mm,
force a block, that sort of helps a creature die if it needs to die. Because there's a lot of banned cards here that are powerful, even in limited, like Prophet of Krufis is here. But there's so much removal that doesn't really last that long. I've
mm.
had a game where someone played a Prophet of Krufix, everyone played a clone that copied the
Oh
Prophet of
Jesus
Krufix.
Christ!
That game like ended so fast because everyone was like casting everything. Like, it was
Everybody's
like,
got every turn, man.
exactly. So that was like super fun but going back to it, so that's one archetype that I knew I wanted, and in every color that could support it. Force combat, gold. There's also cloning, because maybe you couldn't pick it in the draft because outside of your colors, but if you're in blue, then you can copy the best creature on the board. Or also thievery, like playing cards off the top of people's decks. Like, you can either exile the top and play it, or literally draw it from their deck thanks to the
Mm.
silver bordered cards that lets you do that.
Okay,
There's
so before we get more into archetypes, I want to ask you about the commanders themselves, which is
Yes.
to say, so out of this 1,080 cards or whatever, how many of them are commanders? And are they broken down? Are they mainly monocolored that you're supposed to partner with each other? Or do you have a number of multicolored
Yeah.
commanders? Can you explain how that works?
Yeah. So right now there are 108 possible commanders in the whole cube.
So
So that,
10% of the cube.
yeah, exactly. So what that helps with is every pack has at least two.
Is that like
Uh,
fixed that there'll
yeah,
always be
fixed.
two
Yeah,
legends in there?
yeah. There's always gonna be two legends per pack. So if you do the math, that's like two per pack per five per player per 8 players. So you'll have enough to go through. And
Hmm.
even if you don't use them as a commander, some of these legendary creatures are strong enough in the 99.
Hmm.
But the good thing about those monocolored, which I have three of each monocolor, I'll give the breakdown because obviously if you're listening, you're not seeing it. So there's three of every monocolor, two colorless, and then there's two special ones thanks to the unknown event that you can sort of choose what they become. So they're
Hmm.
quote unquote colorless until you build your deck. Which one of them is your favorite character, which is a 5 mana generic 4/4, but you can choose up to 3 colors and you choose a character. So basically, if you wanted to play, I don't know, blue, black, red, you choose those colors and you're set. And then there's Awoken Nephilim, which is legendary, and you could choose any of the 5 Guild Pack Nephilim as your commander. So those really help out if you get them, because then you can essentially pick your best 3 colors, and then you could choose your commander. And then there's 3 of every 2 color. There is 5 of every 3 color, and then there is, I'm trying to have 2 of every 4 color, but they're not all printed, and then 2 5 colors. So I'm sort of not also making it too easy to build an anything goes
Hmm.
color deck.
Yeah, honestly, I would leave the 4 colors out because the 5 colors I would keep because sometimes it's fun to draft 5 color good stuff or 5 color
Yeah.
crazy stuff, but 4 color is such an irritation. It's not.
It's
I mean, aside
interesting.
from like I don't know, Omnath 4, maybe
Yeah.
Brea. mm, I mean, I could
It's
probably name every good 4 out there, but like,
yeah. It also sort of helps in the sense that if you don't want to have someone just be able to pick absolutely anything, because before I had a lot more 5 colors, and I just found that once people find it, they just pick it and then they don't care about anything else they pick. So it's sort
yeah,
of like,
that's the other thing.
yeah,
I think it's more fun to have like 2 or 3 colors tops because then your deck at least has to make choices.
yeah,
And like, because one of the things about a cube or any draft experience is that if you don't make choices, it's just free and that's boring. Like
yeah,
half the fun is being like, oh crap, do I take this Bant guy or do I take this Jund guy? And like, I can't do
exactly.
both.
That's why less than 10% of the possible commanders are more than 3 colors.
Hmm.
And even then, sometimes you might find a really powerful monocolor commander, and then you find another color like, okay, so I could probably add green to this white commander to
Hmm.
sort of help me ramp out, or add blue to this, I don't know, black commander, sort of make it a bit more control-y in that sense.
So I see that there's like one soul ring in here, which
Yes.
obviously is fair. And I'm curious because I've got two questions related to that. One is, have you thought about taking the soul ring out and just setting it so that every player starts with a soul ring, just as part of like just their deck building process? The Gavin method, not Verhe, but the Gavin from the rules committee method of just like everybody starts the command soul ring in the command zone so that we just avoid that problem entirely. Because in this kind of mana is king and being able to actually play your spells is a big deal. Or are you worried that like having just one in there would be unbalancing?
I think that starting with Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Command Tower, I've seen a lot of house rules where sort
Mm,
of people start with those in play. But I feel like that's sort of, if everyone has it, then sort of no one has it. Does that make
mm,
sense? So like, oh, I want everyone to start on the same battlefield. Well, yeah, if you start on the same, if you just wipe everything out, it's also the same. But
mm.
the reason I keep Soul Ring apart, because it's the Sheldon Memory Soul Ring to
Well,
sort of
yeah.
honor him in a bit. Same with the Command Tower, is that let's say you did pick white red and you got your Soul Ring pick one, it helps you out tremendously because
Mm.
everyone with green has access to every single mana accelerant in green, and the red ones aren't that strong because honestly there aren't like equivalents to cultivate and stuff like that
How
in red.
happy were you to see White Auracite show up in Final Fantasy X? In
You
Final
saw
Fantasy
it.
X?
It's in the queue. It's
Yeah.
right there. Like I'm like, yes, let's go. And the same
White
with the
Mana Rock
crystals.
is the best thing in the world. Are you kidding? It's so
Yes,
good.
I found a cut for it so fast. Like so fast I forgot what I cut for it. I'm like, this gotta go. White RSA, let's go.
Oh my god, it is like the most. That might be the best white card printed since
Yeah.
Smothering Tithe.
Oblivion
Right?
Ring Mana Rock, let's go. And
Like, are
it's
you
not
kidding?
generic, it's white
Yeah,
mana.
no, it's white mana. It's like tap for
Yeah.
a white.
Yep.
Period. It rules. Um,
100%. I think I put 6 cards from the Final Fantasy set just in mono white in the cube of how good those white cards got and how finally white is getting better.
Okay, so with 108 commanders in here, um, when you were building your cube, did you start with the commanders or did you start with the themes that you wanted to do and find commanders to fit?
So the start was since wow, this was like I want to say 6-ish, 7 years ago. Obviously, back then there weren't as many commanders as there are now. So I sort of got all the good ones that were 3 colors, 2 colors, and I sort of try to find some archetypes that overlapped between them. And then from there, I was like, okay, so these are then the cards that have to go in because, like I mentioned, you have to have mana acceleration. Back then, I had all the batteries in it from Legends, blue mana battery, red mana battery, because those were the only good accelerants in those colors back then. Same with the spell shaper, where you sacrifice a land, discard a card to get 2 basics from your thing in mono blue. So those were the cards I had to run back then to sort of balance it out for color. And then once I had the framework of mana acceleration, card advantage, and then interaction, and I had the commanders, like, okay, what cards in my collection that I already have sort of work with these commanders that if someone picks, I don't know, Prosh, it's not just, okay, Voltron Prosh if they wanted to build it, but also Aristocrats Prosh if they wanted to
Voltron
build it.
Prosh.
So there's so many different. So that was the goal, like to have commanders that you could build different ways if depending on what you picked.
Were there any like absolute commanders that you thought would be a bad experience that you wanted to leave out?
Yes. So, for example, if you notice, there's no Ursa Lord High Artificer. There's no braids. But don't think it's because I just don't like these. I experimented. Like in the very beginning, I tried to chalk as many banned cards as possible, and I learned firsthand why they're banned, even in limited. Like limited resources, we had an experience where we were playing, and one of the newer players he dropped that like turn 2. No one else could play lands, and then no one was able to find the removal to break it. That
Yeah, because
no one could play anything. No one for like we just said, well, scoop it. Let's play another game.
Limited resources might be the most hostile Magic card ever printed.
Mm-hmm.
As in, like,
I almost ripped it.
You get you destroy every land down to 5, and if there are 10 lands in play, nobody else gets to play a land. And in multiplayer, it's just like GG's. We're never playing land again.
Exactly. I think he was the second player. He dropped it turn 2. I was like, okay, so we're basically done.
Actually, I forgot to ask that part. You do your draft, you build your deck. Are you playing commander pods of 4 people?
4 people. So
in an 8-player pod, so an 8-player draft pod, you end up with 2 games.
Exactly. So the goal is always to have
conspiracy then.
Yeah, exactly. 8 people, because that also helps with the variance. So you have 8 people, you play two 4-player pods. And if there's enough time, then you can sort of swap around. All right, the first 2 from this one, go with the first 2 from that one to sort of try and have at least 4 games, like 2 rounds of matches. Usually at LGS's in Ohio, shout out to my Ohio peeps as well. That's how we would do it. We would, if I was able to have one at an LGS, I'd try to have one at least maybe once every 2 or 3 months, because it's a logistical nightmare finding 8 people to draft this thing. So that's what we would do. So the event would be run, and then not that there would be a strict timer, but we would use the system to sort of set up 4-player pods, and then once the games are over, we would swap them out and then have another game, and then because that would be enough. Honestly, at that point, you just spend a game's worth of time drafting, and then you had 2 games, 3 commander games. That's a
day
night
right there, man.
Yeah, exactly. So that's an event right there. So, and in MagicCon with Quest for the Janklord, I've done it already in Chicago 2 years. So shout out to homies there also for Quest for the Janklord. That's what we end up doing. We have the draft round, 1 game, and then okay, thank you. We call it because there's only so much time.
You want to do something that is one of the main reasons why, even though I really want to play this, I've just skipped out on doing it at the cons, because it is just half the day disappears into this.
Yeah.
And that's really, really tough. But at home, this sounds like sick, right? Like, have you gone to CubeCon? Have you tried this out with like...
So the first year I was invited to CubeCon, it was the weekend of my wedding, so I couldn't go. And then,
I mean...
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. Then after that, I wasn't able to. But at home, it's a blast because one of my favorite cards in here is Nerf War, and I had a massive Nerf blaster. Yeah, Nerf.
Is that the one where you have to shoot other people's decks?
Shoot a Nerf gun. Yeah.
Oh,
so we play that, and every time. So at least so far, every time I've gotten it, I'm a bad shot. I miss the deck every single time. But I've had people play it and straight up empty the clip into the library, and then okay, most of the library is gone. And that's the best way to take
Jesus
somebody out.
Christ.
So at home is super fun, especially when you have stuff like that. But that's the only really, really, really weird card in it. Everything else is viable,
Yeah, I was
magically
gonna say, I'm like, you
speaking.
don't have the. I didn't see Chaos Orb or that
No,
stupid green uncard where you have to
no.
fling
The
it from an hour from
Yeah,
like
the
a meter
mantis.
away or whatever.
Yeah. No, none of those cards because I mean a Nerf blaster that's fun. You get to like put the deck somewhere. It's not gonna hit anybody else's deck, and then you just all right, two
Boom.
meters, awesome, and that's it.
Yeah, but you have staying power, which is one of the most ridiculous cards of all time.
Yes.
Until the end of turn effects no longer end.
Yeah, but if you have an aggro deck, that's a really good card to have because if you play like an overrun type effect until end of turn, your creatures get I don't
Everything's
know
got
plus X
three
plus
three and
X. Yeah,
trample forever.
forever until you get rid of the enchantment. But it's but the good thing is that it's global. So if you play that, then someone else can make the best of it. Then you're like, oh, how do I get rid of my own enchantment because it's not doing me any favors? So that's the kind of dynamic I like in games as well, where you sort of flip things on its head or sort of like play it outside of the box. So I have a lot of cards here that I've been surprised with how players have been able to play with these cards beyond. Oh yeah, I think it's cool. Let's put it in here.
Oh man, what a wild like this is such a crazy thing to consider. Like I know you have like infinite charts and maths and like
Yeah,
spreadsheets and stuff to figure out like trying because one of the things about balancing a cube is that you're balancing for color, you're balancing for monocurves, you're balancing for the themes and play experiences you're looking for, and that's already a very daunting challenge in the 360 cube,
yeah,
let alone in how do you make this even work cube. Like I mean I don't want to get too bogged down in like
yeah.
the very
The
the deep
math.
statistics of it all,
Yeah.
but like even like do you like how do you decide how many mono rocks or which mono rocks you're going to put in? Do you have like all the signets and all the talismans or something?
Oh
Or
yeah, that's hard. So before I used to have signets, but they're multicolored. So because of multicolor
mm,
identity, so they were in the multicolor sort of
mm,
area of the cube, and then things like coalition relic is in the colorless because it's so I am faithful to like color identity classifications with how it goes. But little by little, as we've gotten better mana rocks and better mana accelerants, I've been able to take those things out and leave things like Felwar Stone, Arcane Signet, stuff like that. Because since there are a lot of cards that sort of steal things from other players,
mm,
I left a lot of the three CMC mana rocks that just let you tap for any color. Because
yeah,
that way, if you're playing the triplets, send triplets, or if you're playing X, which is in here also, you can play other people's cards like reliably. So in
mm,
a sense, I've sort of tried to keep it like if you are building a deck, you want, I don't know, 10% or 15%, or however you want to feel comfortable of your deck be mana acceleration. So I
mm,
try and have close to that ratio, not within the whole cube, but per color. So if
sure,
you are red white, you still have ways to try and accelerate somehow versus the green player. Or if you're playing black blue, you still have a chance to sort of catch up. You would have to make sure you pick those mana rocks while the green player is probably picking cultivate and stuff like that. So
mm.
that way there is a balance. And then the curve just came out, honestly, miraculously, a perfect bell curve of mana where every single, if you look at, because yeah, with Cube Cobra where I have it, and the cube is so old, Cube Cobra didn't exist yet when I made this thing. I was able to transfer it over from where it was before. If you
Oh,
look at
that's very
every
clean looking.
yeah, if you look at every median, because there is like an analysis tab where, for example, if you go in analysis, obviously the zero is sort of like spikes because there are lands and lands are zero mana value.
Sure.
But if you put the tag for bulk, which is what comprises the cube per se, you'll see the perfect curve, and the median CMC for everything except colorless is 4. Because colorless has the heroes and the conspiracies which have 0, so it sort of
Sure.
skews it to the left. But everything is 4. So that's why you have sort of like a mid-rangey game every time. But since you're forcing attacks, you're forcing blocks, you have sort of big creatures if you eventually do get your bombs out, it's sort of you don't have stallish 2 3 hour games or 11-hour games, with the cube. So I
Did you put
focus more on archetype than mana value.
I was about to ask if you had put Nine Fingers Keen, the chick who likes to use gates. But
Gates.
then I realized that would be so difficult to try to draft around
Yeah,
because everybody is going to try to draft all the multicolor
exactly,
lands or
Gates.
whatever.
So in
Uh,
that sense, I have sort of like a recommendation if anyone does want to try and do these things, at least from experience as well, is try to avoid very niche archetypes. For example, if you notice there is no typal support whatsoever in this cube, there isn't no all your goblins gain this or all your
mm,
merfolk or all your zombies or whatever. Because let's say, for example, someone does pick a zombie commander, someone else picks a different zombie commander. You're going to be fighting over each other for that. You'll
mm,
never see your payoffs. You'll never see a build. You'll be focused on picking a zombie that might not work for the for your deck. So I 100% no zombie stuff. And then if I'm forcing combat and all that, I want games to progress. No stacks either. You can
mm,
have stacks if you want, but I nothing in my cube. There are no stacks cards in it either. And
mm.
so those are some archetypes that I would steer clear for. Very very niche ones, like you mentioned, Nine Fingers Keen. If you don't get enough like gates, it's not worth it.
Right.
And same with typo commanders. So I try to go for things like Voltron. Voltron works in any color. If you
Mm,
pick the Voltron commander, for example, I have the Arna Kennerud, which doubles your equipment. That's a really great equipment commander, but you can also make it Voltron if you just slap all your equipment onto Arna Kennerud. But at the same time, I also have the Sola Flora from the Unset.
mm.
So you can have sort of two different players. All right, I want to try and get as many auras or equipment as I can, but that's okay because equipment works well on their own, anyways. So even if you don't maybe get enough equipment for your equipment commander, you still have other things you can use as well. And then if you have any other artifact synergies, same with the commanders that I have that care about entering the battlefield effects. Because if you have a blink commander and you have a really good creature with ETB, the creature's already good on its own. But if you have a commander that can blink it, you
Mm.
just sort of you're helping yourself go along, and sort of picking a commander from the get go also sort of lets you stay in your lane, if that makes sense. Sort of like when you're drafting normally, okay, I picked my good red bomb, I'm just going to play red or red black, maybe splash blue or
So
whatever.
then in this cube, can you play monocolor?
Yeah, for sure. Because remember, every pack is seeded with X
Mm,
amount of cards. So you are guaranteed, if you open a pack, three of those cards in the pack are guaranteed to be mono white, mono blue, mono black, etc. And then, so if you have a mono white commander, let's say you have a commander that's mono white and you choose, I don't know, another mono white commander, it is
mm.
possible. I mean, you might end up with 40 basic planes, but you can pick every colorless card you see, every white card you see, and they sort of help each other out. Because if you look at the white cards, white has a whole bunch of man acceleration in the sense of look for a basic planes or look for a planes, or if an opponent controls more lands than you, then you get so
Yeah.
you have your acceleration, you have your interaction. There's Source of Plowshares, there's Path to Exile, there's White Arcite, right? So
Mm,
there's all these things, and there's also interaction. You have your Oblivion Ring, you have your Route, you have your Pile Up, you have all these cards. So you can build a mono white deck because you will have card advantage, acceleration, interaction, plus your cards that help you go together. So let's say you had your Blink Commander in mono white, which is the Lord of the Rings one, Gilran. You can have all your creatures that ETB to fetch you a land. Perfect. You could just blink them and get a land again. So it's very
you
possible
also
to
have
do that.
MEL, the unicorn,
The
which is
blessed,
great
yeah,
for blink.
exactly.
Did you put the elephant in here from Baldur's Gate? The flying elephant that like
Oh
gives you
no,
yeah.
because there's only 3 slots for white, and right now Solar Flora is one I'm never cutting because that's just a fun card. I
Mm,
have God Eternal Aketra, which is great for because tokens are also a heavily supported archetype in the cube, and since Aketra is monocolor, you could partner Aketra with another commander that had partner. So
mm.
let's say you had I don't know, Vile Smasher. You could have a
Oh,
Vile
do you
Smasher Aketra
I
deck.
I forget. Did we talk about this? Did you do the thing where monocolor guys can partner up?
Yes.
Okay.
So thanks to that, which like I said, there's no house rules, but since it's drafted just like Commander Masters, and I mentioned that in everywhere I go, this is the default
What
version you
about
drafted.
planeswalkers?
So planeswalkers, I don't have any planeswalkers that can be your commander in the cube, just to make it simpler
Easier.
to follow
Good.
along. So there's none of those are there.
Yeah, because that would make it very tricky.
Yes.
And also, planeswalkers are already a pain, and
Yeah.
the ones I've seen in here are real irritating.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this seems phenomenal. It's like, what have you noticed? Like, what do you think people tend like? What's been the most popular thing people want to play?
So when people get this, the what's satisfying for me is when they open a pack and they cannot make a choice. Like there's no bad card in a pack. And but that happens a lot of times. No one says, "Oh, this pack is booty." You know what I mean? It's like
Mm,
every single time. It's only when you're like reaching your second round of the draft, when you've already chosen your commander, that it gets easier. Because you might see an amazing green card, but you're not in green, so you let it pass you by unless you want to hate pick. Um, but that's what I like most about it, and people are always excited for whatever they want because people have different tastes.
mm,
When I drafted this in Chicago, everyone was able to build something they really liked, and we weren't competing against each other.
mm.
For example, Daniel from Quest for the Janklord, he got the plane chase commander, and he was ecstatic that he, not because it's 5 colors, but because he could choose a plane and make plane chase and all these shenanigans with it. And then someone drafted a really stompy commander where they were reanimating
Wait,
things at the
what
same
plane chase
time.
commander?
So there's Polis the plane shifter, I think it's called. Let me go make double sure that I'm
Oh,
not
that's one of the
Gavin
Gavin
unknown event.
cards.
Yeah. So basically, when it enters, you choose a plane and it has the abilities of that plane.
Oh,
So
that's
that's a really
wild.
fun card because you're basically playing plane chase. And then you can clone it and have multiple planes happen at once, which is crazy, but it works. And then at the same time, we had the initiative and we were playing with the massive Baldur's Gate dungeon, which is, I don't know if you saw that, but I don't have it next to me, but it's the
Under Mountain.
massive 8.5 by 11.
Oh, the big one that was for the
Yeah,
pre-release. Not
exactly.
pre-release, for the
The
in-store event.
Yeah, for the anniversary of Dungeons and
Yeah.
Dragons. So, for example, if you have the initiative while you're playing my cube, you get to choose if you want to go to the Undercity, if you want to go to Baldur's Gate Wilderness, or alternate between them once you finish one to go to the other.
Jesus.
So that board state was insane because there was like 5 planes out. You had Baldur's Gate Wilderness. You had the Jund player with a massive threat on board every single turn, and then if you killed it, they were able to reanimate it because they had a deck that was Stompy and Reanimator at the same time. You had another Reanimator deck that was using the Nephilim that's able to reanimate stuff. My deck was just copying nonsense. I think I was playing Volrath or something like that. And it's like, awesome, give me your best cards. I'll just copy it.
You know what card needs to be in this cube that I'm looking at? Sword of Sword of Blank and Blank.
Oh yeah,
The sword from the unevent from Gavin event
another
where
event.
you
Yeah,
roll 2d10 and then pick a sword, so you
yeah,
can have Sword of Truth and Fire or whatever.
yeah,
You know, it's like
exactly.
it would be super fun.
The thing is,
Uh,
those are so hard to find. Like right now, my mana base is. I feel like it's not as good as it could be because I don't have Command Power Plant, I don't have Command
oh,
Mind,
geez, yeah.
and I don't have Mana Confluence. If I could get my hands on those three, I'd be golden because I really, really need those unknown event cards. But at
Mana
least the ones I
Confluence.
have, yeah. So there's one called Mana Conference. When it
Oh, Mana
enters,
Conference.
yeah. When it enters, everyone chooses a color secretly, and then everyone reveals it. So then the land has those basic land types of the colors people chose, but it's in secret, so your opponents can't conspire against you and all choose one color that's not in your identity.
Did you
So
put
that's
in
a
that
really good
one
one.
land that is all land types?
So the
The
problem with
planet.
that one is it can only go in a 5 color deck.
Oh, right.
It
You're
has
right. You're right.
rangeling, yeah.
Of course.
The
Of
nearby
course.
planet,
Yes.
yeah. So it can only go in the 5 color commander. So that's the only reason that's not there. But
That's fair.
I do have a city of ass in there. Yeah, because it gets half for any color and a half
Oh
of mana.
God.
Yeah,
We need to replace that with like a real 5 color land or something.
yeah.
Like the new one that just came out in Final Fantasy.
Starting town.
Yeah, Starting Town, because
So what
it's
I've yeah, it's a good card. What I've noticed also with this is I want to try and make it as simple as possible in terms of the mana base. If you notice, none of the lands I have require you to pay life to use them, or they
mm,
don't scry you when you use them. So basically, each one is as useful as the other. So, for
sure.
example, a filter land is not that different from a land that maybe enters untap if you reveal a card in your hand, or if you have a land of this other type. So in order
Mm,
to make the lands much easier, none of them you have to like, oh, pay 1 life to add 1 mana. Nope. Or give this color by taking 1 damage. Nope. All of them are super, super, super simple. None of them give you anything extra or anything detrimental apart from fixing your mana. That is why they are
Man.
exclusively mana fixing lands. And it was really tough to do that at the beginning. But thanks to more sets coming out after I've made this cube, now I'm in a good state where all I need are those 3 lands, so I can get rid of stuff like City of Ass. You know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Have you thought about doing things like more for other mechanics like that?
So
Or
I
are there any
tried it.
mechanics that you've just found are bad for this kind of environment?
Yes, I was just gonna say. So, like I said, from experience, if it's too niche, it doesn't work. Like I really like Kadena from the precon, where your morphs, your first morph spell costs 3 less.
Right.
But then it's 1,080 cards. The likelihood of you not just getting Kadena, but then also getting enough morph creatures where it's worth playing,
Mm,
it's not really worth it,
mm.
because it's not easy to build around. So, I mean, you can just build. Let's say, oh, I really like this commander. Whatever, I have 3 color good stuff. I'll play Sultai. Best green cards, best blue cards, best black cards. Let's go. That can work. There are people who
Mm.
like that. But if your commander is Kadena and you have no morph card and you just have all the best black, blue, green cards,
Then that's
what
just
do you want your
pointless.
commander for? Exactly.
Exactly.
So I want to try and, if I'm going to make a slot for Kadena, I would rather the slot be for something like Volrath or for something like
For sure, for
Muldrotha,
sure.
where you can get better use of the commander. So that's why, like I mentioned earlier, I avoided any sort of niche type of archetype. And even then, equipment is not that easy unless you get equipment, but there's so much equipment in the cube, then that is inevitable because a lot of morph creatures, they're not good unless you use them for morphing. But
Right.
an equipment is good. It doesn't matter if your commander cares about equipment or artifacts, or if your
Yeah.
commander is a Voltron commander.
Or
Equipment is
like
just
equipment
good.
or auras, right? Like,
Exactly. Equipment is just good on their own. Same with the auras. But for example, morph, if you don't have any payoffs, then why would I pick this overcosted morph creature when this other creature will do the same for much cheaper?
mm. It's crazy, man. God,
Yeah.
this looks so cool and so overwhelming to think about.
Yeah.
But I love it. I think it's super sick.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. It means a lot.
Like, cause
It's
like
overwhelming. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've
Go
just
ahead.
been scrolling at random and my eye falls on. I'm like, oh, that's a sick card. Oh, that's a sick card. Like every 10 seconds. It's
Now
real
imagine
funny.
opening a pack and you have to make 2 picks from it.
The
And you're
worst
seeing
thing
so many
about
cards that you
Cube,
like.
man, is the first time you open a pack and you're just like, oh God, what do I do?
Yeah. At least with a commander cube, the blessing is that once you choose, like I said, once you choose your lane and you see a pack, you're just seeing colors from then on out. Unless you want to hate pick Prophet of Crufix or whatever. Like the moment you see your colors, boom, whatever. Two of the color, two of the color, two of the color. So it tends to
In
go
your experience,
faster the sooner on.
how often do people land on their colors? Or how early do
Usually,
people land on
yeah.
their colors?
Usually the very first round, because let's say for example I have a pack and I can even like just choose a test pack. Cube Cobra allows for that. So like if for example if I go to play test and I just choose a random pack, right? So let's say this pack gives me Zergo Stormrender and Clear the Loon as my possible commanders. The other cards in here are, for example, Knight of the White Orchid, which is in white, Everlasting Lich, which is in black, and Solemn Simulacrum, Arcane Signet. I can say, oh, I don't like Zergo, I don't like Claire, but I can get the Arcane Signet and Solemn Simulacrum. So right there, I have my 2 colorless, which can go anywhere. But let's say I really did like Zergo, and Zergo is a really aggressive commander. So Everlasting Lich, it can't block. It's a 4/0 that can be sacrificed. Okay, so I could choose those 2. And if I already have that and I like that, I'll make sure I pick white man acceleration or interaction, same with red or black. But if, like I said earlier, oh, I don't like these 2 commanders, I'll just pick the Arcane Signet and I'll pick Solemn Simulacrum. I
Mm,
might get a commander I want next turn because, for example, if I pick Zergo,
you'll get
Claire's not my
passed.
second pick.
Mm,
So maybe when that might happen with the person next to me, I didn't pick Zergo. They might say, oh, screw whatever other commander I got. I really like Zergo. I'll pick Zergo now and then continue my
yeah,
journey as we go along.
I opened a random pack, and the 2 I got were Disciple of Nissa and Cedrus the Traitor King, and I'm like, wow,
Nice.
Grixis or mono green. That's like about as opposite as you can get.
Yeah.
But
And
like
if you
this pack,
really like Disciple of Nissa, you can just, if you don't find another partner commander or monocolor commander, you
mm,
still have the Prismatic Piper or the Faceless one. So
Right.
if you want green blue Nissa, you can do green blue Nissa.
Like in this pack, I could definitely just crack and take Nissa and then Tireless Tracker as my first 2 packs, and then boom,
Exactly.
I'm in Greentown.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. This seems really sick. This is a really cool idea, man. Like,
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
it just seems very exciting, and like I wish we had more time to really get into like how people could build this, but I think that they can go to your channel and look it up
Yeah.
and figure out how to do this because like we'll be here for hours if I
Yeah,
asked
for
you to be
sure.
like, how
Yeah.
many
In
red
depth.
cards
Yeah.
do you have?
Yeah, because
Um,
at least in depth in the mini series, like I said, I have the easiest way to build it, which is the very first video. But you can sort of see the evolution as more products have come along that help support basically commander drafting. Because before
hey,
that
how
wasn't
come
a
my
thing.
card's not in here?
Your card is too good. Your card is also somewhat niche. I'm just glad I played it when we were next to each other at the unknown event. We had the same commander, which was Ojutai, which is a mythic, by
Yeah.
the way. The odds of that are astronomical, and your card as well. So that was crazy. Yeah, but I gotta make it too easy, Shivam. We can't have everyone fighting over your card. Come on,
I
I,
mean,
I
dude,
want.
Secret of the Favorites is a really strong card. It's
Yeah, it
really,
is.
really good. Um, I really need to build a deck around that card. Someday. But before we go though, buddy,
Yeah,
one thing did come up recently that I wanted to talk to you about because I thought it was really, really cool. And that was the secret layer that had La Abundancia de
Yukao.
Yukahu,
Yes. Yeah.
the Puerto Rican Sylvan Library.
Yes, about
And I know
time we
that
got one.
as a native son of Puerto Rico, you must have been losing your mind.
I couldn't believe it at first. So, to be honest, when I was going, it's like, oh, awesome, because I was an ambassador for Ixalan a
Mm,
while back, and we had like a meeting with Ovidio Cartagena, and he
yeah.
was talking about how for this time around with Ixalan, they really wanted to get like the inspiration,
Oh,
and
they
he goes,
tripled
yeah,
down, man.
he goes hardcore with the art, like the same with Duskmorn and all that, with like artistic references and cultural references. So I'm looking through the cards and I see, oh, this is awesome because obviously I'm familiar with like Mexican art and culture
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then I see La Abundancia de Yucau and I'm like, this isn't Mexican. And then I see the natives on the canoes and I see the Semi in the mountain and like, this is there is no like I had the double takes like this. Did we finally get a Puerto Rican card? I lost my mind. I think I flooded Twitter with every single reaction as I was having it in real time. Every time I saw something about the card that I hadn't seen before, post, like I lost it. Every one of my buddies in Puerto Rico, they were texting me, "Did you see the Puerto Rican cards?" Like, yes, I'm not crazy. It's us, right? It's not like Ixalan or anything like that. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
like
it's
no, this
us.
is like legit Puerto Rico, right? Like
Yes,
this is so cool. I
we
thought,
couldn't believe it because I was joking. I'm like, Ixalan has pirates, conquistadors. That's the Caribbean. You could have put
yeah,
something Puerto Rican in the first Ixalan block, but we got it. It's a secret layer, but we got it. We're
yeah, dude, it
there.
was wild to me because like a video. I had a phenomenal chat with him during the Ixtlan run up, and we were talking about how he basically put in so much of his like like his native Mayan culture and his Guatemalan culture into this, and I was like, yo, that's sick. But like the Caribbean's huge. But
Yeah,
like when I saw this thing and it's like the chancla and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
this BS, man. But
yeah,
dude, I'm so happy for you guys. This thing is so
yeah.
sick. And it's a real card. It's a
Exactly.
Sylvan
It's
friggin' library. It's
That's
not
what I
just
said.
like,
Not Chaff. It's not. It's Sylvan Library. Like that
yeah.
can go. I want it for the cube 100%.
Oh,
You
you
know
know you
that.
do.
Yeah, but I saw that, and then I saw the chancla, and I'm like, wow, like I all the flashbacks and stuff as a kid, because there's a
Yeah.
whole bunch. Like Latin America is huge, but
Yeah.
as huge as it is, we have a lot of stuff in common. Getting smacked by a chancla when you're a kid,
Dude.
everybody has the scars. And then Captain America is really the Puerto Rican flag if you look at his torso. So the Captain American card throwing the chancla, that's just icing
Oh,
on the cake.
Jesus Christ.
It's just icing on the cake, but we got one for real. It's not like maybe these conquistadors, they're my ancestors probably in
Yeah,
Puerto
no,
Rico.
no,
You know
no,
what I
no.
mean?
These are Taino
No,
over here, man.
these are Taino. Exactly. These are Puerto Rican 100%, our indigenous peoples.
That's so
Like
sick. Uh,
undoubtedly so. Yeah, but
yeah,
we were
man.
we were ecstatic.
But you know what? We've hit our hour, and this has been awesome. This has been really, really
Yeah,
cool. And like, I want to have you back on sometime so we can talk about what it's like to play Magic in Puerto Rico.
yeah, of
But
course.
in the meantime, if folks wanted to find you, your cube list or like your content, where do they go?
So on YouTube, which is mostly where I put my content, just the Commander Tavern. If you search that, and if you search for my playlist, that's where you can find all of my Commander Cube stuff. For example, if you do search on my channel for a playlist, that's where you'll see everything, and I go over everything in detail, like how wish effects work in a Commander Cube, if you're going to put conspiracies and heroes, how you can siege your packs. Like I try to make a small enough video to make it sort of digestible, to put it that way, because right now you're seeing the final, this is basically the best version it's going to be until I get those command mine and all that stuff that I'm missing. So if you find me there, you'll find that, but also you'll find the links to my cube per se there, because I do have an online version of my Commander Cube. So for example, if you want to draft it but not in person with your own play group, you don't need my cards. You can just go, and the online version is sort of like a stripped down version where there's no draft matters, because you can't really do that online, or like obviously the Nerf gun, you can't do that online, but there is a way for you to draft it online and play it on Cockatrice or whatever other program you want. So all that stuff you can find it in my channel, especially the link to the Commander Cube is on every single video in that mini series. There's a link to the Commander Cube.
Yeah, so Commander Tavern, you should go check it out. Gilbert here is a cool dude, and I'm really grateful that you were able to come on. I'm glad we finally got this to happen.
Yes, I'm
This has
grateful,
been
super
sick,
grateful
man.
as well. Appreciate it for having me on. It's been a while. I think the first time we talked about it, I was still living in Puerto Rico, so it's been a
Yeah,
while.
it's been a hot minute, man. Like
Yeah,
I'm, that is the challenge of a podcast. But like the
yeah,
thing is, I have to put out an episode every week, which means
yeah,
your turn will show up.
yeah. Exactly, for sure. At least I don't have the problems with electricity and internet, so we're good to go.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, my friend, as always, you can find me at Shivam Bhatt on Blue Sky. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at YouTube every Tuesday, thanks to my editor, Dan. You can also hear me on Shivam Wheeler Love Magic or the Chronicles of Dragonlance podcast. And remember, my friend, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.